Right, so this evening, um, if you want to join me, I'm interested in speaking to individuals one at a time. So I'm going to try it this way and see how this goes. So I'm really interested in hearing from any individual out there. It's always nice just to have a bit of chat, find out who's who, what interests you, what motivates you, how you're viewing the world, how you view yourself, other people. We can talk about anything from relationships to your beliefs and other dimensions, whatever you want to talk to me about. I'm always going to be me, and I'm not just going to sit here feeding anybody's ego or anybody's bias. I'm looking to engage in some honest discussion. So if you would like to join me, and as I say, I don't care who people are. The only thing that bothers me is people who don't know themselves. The people that bother me are the game players, the projectors. As I've said many times before, previous videos. I'm secure with. I could be secure with a psychopath. If a psychopath knows he's a psychopath and embraces it fully, and is not scared of himself and to admit that, then that's clarity for me. I respect these types of things. There's no confusion, there's no blood lines there. The problem comes when we get people who continually play games and want to project all sorts of nonsense and bumf at each other and wear masks and, hide in the undergrowth. So I really don't care who you are, as long as you're committed to your own being and you know exactly who you are. I'm always going to respect that. Might not agree with who you are and what your views or whatever else is, but at the end of the day, you've got your right to be you, and I've got my right to be me, and everybody else is the same. So, if you want to join me, and as I say, I'm just going to take it from, if anybody does email, we'll just see how this goes, and I'll take it from the first, and as I say, it's going to be one at a time, and then we'll just move on from there. So, if you want to take part in this, you have to email me at abchao77@gmail.com. Once the phone's charged, I'm also going to put that on and give the number out. So let me just open up my Gmail here just in case I do get anything through. And again, I'll just continue this until maybe it catches on. I'll put adverts up for it through the week and people can message me in advance if they want to come on. But as far as the open hangouts go and all the riffraff and the nonsense that goes on, I just don't have any attention span for it. I can't be bothered wasting my Saturday evenings listening to absolute morons spewing garbage and fucking sniping and palm bombing and all that rubbish. So say I'm not really interested in discussing. Well, I can discuss, aspects of science, the shape of the world, if that's what people want to bring up, but primarily I'd like to just discuss, who you are, what your philosophies on life are, if you get problems, if you get, aspects of your life that you're struggling with, whatever it may be, it's up to you people out there, if you want to hear these things. For me it's good, because then it's more opportunities for people to realise that they can relate to others rather than this living in isolation and we separate boxes thinking that we're all so different to each other, when really the majority, the fundamentals are the same. We share very much the same similarities. So right, once that phone's got a wee bit of charge, I'll hand the number out for that. Hello everybody in the chat, how are you doing? The same again in the chat box. Questions, points that you want to raise. People think there's other aspects that are relevant to them or relevant to everything else that's going on. So, again, I'm always looking to hear these things. If there's anything you think is worthwhile and that people should know about, use this platform for it. Let us hear it. What are the barriers I'm encountering in face-to-face interactions with people on this topic? Well, there's loads. I mean, there's a classic example this afternoon when I spoke to a guy for about an hour and 15 minutes. And you very quickly realise that because you're not an idol on a TV screen, or you're no some, you know, stamped authority on any particular matter or subject or topic, people start off from the footing that it's just another person spouting opinions. So, you know, the whole interaction can be laced with that, where you're having to constantly try and claw back this person's ego and, you know, reflect it to them without being too antagonistic and without triggering them too much. So I think for me that the problem is always people's delusions of grandeur and their ego and thinking they understand and they've got a grasp on, you know, mainstream science, philosophical notions and ideas about our existence, any of these kinds of things. It's so difficult to try and get by that. You feel it, you could just feel like things they say to you, the way they react, it's all based in ego and a match-up of a battle of who's got the best intellect, and, you know, I'm a man, I'm going to always be right, who could this man ever possibly make me question what I know, and there's all that shite, all the usual stuff that's so difficult just to have an honest, you know, objective discussion with people. You've got to try and clamber through all these aspects that, for me, they grate on me, to be honest with you. I start to notice that I'm rolling my eyes and kind of becoming disinterested. So that's the biggest factor, you know, people's own pomposity and their false sense of certainty seems to be the real issue. I don't know if that was even aimed at me, but I'm answering it anyway. Marilyn Wisby, Nicholas Shinky Orta, High Level Awakening, Brandon Cook, Pete Shee, Maggie M, Have No Sphere, Beyond Belief, Pete Shee, Shane Walter. So again, if you just tuned in, I'm looking for interactions with individuals one at a time, and I'm interested in who you are, you know, what your views are, you know, how you're thinking, you know, anything we can discuss, as I said earlier, from problems in your everyday life, your relationships, to, you know, what you think the earth is, the universe, whatever, you know, the whole spectrum. And again, if you think there's something relevant or important that you think people need to hear or know about, by all means use it. But as I continually state, you know, I'm always going to question, and I expect people to be open enough to have a bit of discourse. And again, you know, I'm not here on any personal battle with anybody. I'm not going to be here to try and put anybody down or score points. It's no my incentive. My incentive is always just to ask questions, to inquire, and to get a further understanding on what's actually going on in my world, you know, the objective world and the subjective world in regards to people, social interactions and practices. So if you want to join me, you need to send an email to abchao77@gmail.com. Fuck is that? What is going on? All right there. Right, and like same again, if people don't want to interact and join live, they can post stuff in the chat box and ask me there. Did I see Timmy was whatever. Right, free speech, that's always been the case. Some people just don't like me questioning some of the things they're offering, and that's all I'm ever going to do. Is question what's being presented to me. That's all anybody can do. There's a wee tiny space here, remember. You can have a corner of the rug. It's ample space for you. A quarter of my rug's like a king size fucking mattress. I don't know why you piped up, because you know that's what's coming. I just can't help myself. I'm trying to bully you. I'm bullying the wee guy. Rip my rug right up. What are you going to do? Walk about like a dog scratching your arse on it and all fours? Leaving big shit stains everywhere, tearing it up with your raggedy arsehole. That what you're going to do, flat man? Magumba can get his bite back once he grows into it. You think flat earth is sort of brick wall? We don't know what you mean by flat earth. No one has anything to say I don't know already. Where do you think it's going? I don't know what you mean by that. People talk about, you know, flat earth and all this stuff as if it's like an object and a thing, an entity of its own, and it's got some destination to go to. You know, what's happening right now is there's a process of people starting to wake up and question the foundations of their reality. You know, and there's a buffer period for that. It's not going to happen overnight. You know, and in my experience, I've seen it in waves. There's always lows, there's always peaks, you know, an influx, a low, an influx. There's all sorts going on. And again, people are distracted by everyday life and the rat race that they're born into. So I don't know what people mean by flat earth and where they think it's going and all this stuff. You know, as I said at the very beginning of my journey in this, it would have got a lot further, a lot quicker if people, you know, learned the propaganda and learned the sophistry and learned how to remove any muck and fluff from whittling it down to, you know, the actual solid points and questions. So, hey ho, maybe, you know, people should stop asking others, you know, and projecting their expectation onto others and get up off your fucking ass and try and make a difference yourself. You know, I'm only one man, I can only do so much. So, since no one can leave the firmament, what do you think they're doing underground? Maybe they spent all that money there. Well, I'm not going to go into, you know, making claims about firmaments or what's actually up there. But obviously there's a lot of smoke and mirrors, you know, where people's attentions are drawn in the opposite direction. So we get people looking up here in Antarctica and blah, blah. There may very well be, you know, a presence beneath. There may be aspects that we're not looking at, you know. I mean, the mainstream would even say things like that they've only explored or know 5% of the oceans or the known oceans, the areas. So there's obviously a lot of undiscovered aspects or aspects that are not being disclosed. You know, well, they've got everybody looking up here and thinking the explorations to be achieved up there, it's laterally, it's beneath, you know, any possibility. So I don't know what's actually going on. I've not lived long enough, I've not experienced any of these avenues to have any input. Again, I'm just a man who arrived at a point in his life of awakening and realising my own fallacious reasoning and processing, and took a stand on that and eradicated a lot of the nonsense from my own mind. So over the last 5 years, it's been trying to, you know, get some clarity on various aspects. And, you know, my focus and my attention's on the fundamental, which is where are we actually here? As I keep saying, you know, all these concepts and ideas, culture, society, you know, they're all just ideas and concepts. They mean nothing to me. They're not rooted in something objective. They don't give me any clarity in what I'm involved in here and what I'm a part of, you know. So, I don't know where I was going with that, but anyway, blah blah. Right, let me just have a wee check here. Hello everybody again. If you've just joined, I'm looking for people who want to engage on a one-to-one level. You can bring any aspect that you like, you know, your experience, your problems, your issues, your views on the world, questions, whatever it may be. There is absolutely no avenue I'm not going to entertain, and I'm open to any discussion. So if you want to be involved in that, as I say, I'm going to hopefully try and make use of this aspect and have more one-to-one interactions with people, just because I'm curious about people and their thought processes and what information or knowledge they may have to offer other people. So if you want to join me, you need to send an email to abchao, ABCHAO 77 at gmail.com. Just a wee look here. So I'm just going to look at the first ones that are coming through. So let me refresh. Brenda Von Assen. Send me an invite, Dale. You know I'm always respectful. Brenda, I'm not to engage with anybody about, your pseudoscience or any of that stuff. So I'm going to leave you there a minute and you can send me another email, but it's under the premise that you're not coming in here to try and use up my energy and my time and everybody else's time with talking about your same old tired rhetoric in regards to your globe concept. Okay? I'm not interested in that this evening. I'm interested in people as individuals and who they are, what their interest is, and blah, blah, blah. So, the next one in was John Jones. Johnson Jones said, would love to have a conversation about the flat earth and level world we live in. Cheers. Well, as I just said, I'll have a discussion. What I'm going to do is I'm going to give Brenda our opportunity first, because that's what I said, and then I'll come to you, Johnson Jones. Next after that we have Pete Shea, and he would like a chat. So if people are patient, I'll give people the opportunity to say what they've got to say first and foremost, and then we'll move on to the next. So just give me a wee second to set one up here. Again, people, if we come to this and you're sending emails through, you're going to have to be quick if you want to be first or whatever. I'm just going to be as fair as I possibly can and deal with the first emails that come through and give people that opportunity. I'll refine it as it goes. We'll just need to see how that plays out. Okay, right. What's my opinion on having pressure without a container? It depends what you mean by pressure, Jarek Matthews. I can only deal with a heliocentric claim, which is saying that we exist in a medium that is a vacuum. And in my experience of practical, measurable, demonstrable, objective reality, that claim does not match up to my experience of the natural world. It's an absurdity. So again, I say these things, if it was the case, you've got to grant that their assumption or their claim would be true in the first place, that the earth does exist within a medium that's a vacuum. Then in that case there would have to be some sort of containment from us in the vacuum. It's in regards to the heliocentric claim though. It's not me claiming there's firmaments and domes and all this stuff. I can only take the claims that are being put to me and see if they hold up. Well, Juan Carlos, if that's what happens, I'll just end it. That's the beauty of just, creating an individual hangout specifically for individual people. If it's not going anywhere and it's just a waste of time, I can just shut it off and start the next one for the next person I'm waiting. So it's much better than just posting it and just having all these clowns descending and causing disruption. So, you know, we can only be fair and take it as it happens. Well, Kieran, letting the truth out in purpose. Maybe, you know, the use of technology, the implementation of technology has just allowed people to be able to, you know, interact and share information freely, and it was an inevitability. So my thoughts on the matter is understanding from a point of intel and intelligence that you would be aware of that. So if you know that people are going to start sharing information, the only option you have is to try and steer the information, steer the flow of attention, and try and muddy the waters and sow confusion amongst people so that they never get any clarity. Again, it's just a sign of people looking to others for answers and no standing in their own discernment. You know, that's an aspect that's played upon. That's why you have propaganda and you have agents of deceit and, you know, all that stuff going on. It's because they know that people are always looking externally to other people to try and fulfill them or give them an answer or, you know, a new piece of knowledge or whatever it may be. So I think there's an aspect to that. I don't think it's people going, right, we'll let that out and we'll let this out and blah, 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 blah. You know, I think information is just starting to be shared freely because of these technologies. So people with invested interests are going to seek to try and protect those interests or steer attention, steer the narrative. You know, we all know about social engineering. We all know about, you know, the use of mind control, these kind of aspects. So a lot of this is being utilised for people with set agendas, trying to perpetuate whatever it is they're involved in. So the first link has been sent to Brenda Von Assen. Brenda Von Assen, I'm going to give you until the clock strikes 8. I'll give people 5 minutes when I post them the link, and if they're not joined within the 5 minutes, I'm shutting it down. Start another one and I'll send the new hangout to the next person I'm waiting. No worries, Robert Matthews. Right, so it's going to be Johnson Jones, and then we'll get Pete Shee. I know, Bill. Hang on a wee second here. How can I have you blocked if you're messaging me? Well, you need to use one of your sock puppets then. You've got a minute left. So, if Brenda doesn't show up with Johnson Jones, then I've got Pete Shee, Eye Level Awakening, Alan, and Eben Kim. So let me just have a wee look here. Alan, chill. It's Alan here. Spoke on chat with you before. My channel name is changed to Search for Truth and Freedom. And again, I'd be happy to talk about whatever sent from my experience. Well, again, I'm expecting people to come in knowing what they want to speak about. So if you have got something you want to speak about, that's absolutely brilliant. And again, I have to wait until a week gets back looking after the little one. No bother, Eben Kim. Obviously it's going to be a wee bit before we get through some of the first people here that have emailed, so you know, I look forward to getting a chat with you as well. Right, that's that one done. I'm just going to shut that hangout down. So okay, box. Right, who was next? Johnson Jones. Johnson Jones, the link is on its way to you. Again, we've got 5 minutes, so by 8:05, if nobody shows up, I'm going to shut it down. The government and the EU have exposed themselves for what they really are. I think governments, politicians, hierarchical structures are all a symptom of the illogic, the weak-mindedness of human beings and of a time gone by. For me, you know, the advancement of human potential now has to move beyond these limiting, needy structures that we've allowed to encroach on our actual freedom and expression. I'm not interested in politicians, I'm not interested in governments. I don't feel the need to be led or ruled by anybody. So it exposes the mindset of the people who perpetuate it, never mind the governments. You know, if you offer up a place for these people to get in and utilise it, then that's on your responsibility. You have to get back to the individual and ask, why would anybody ever allow that to even happen in the first place? So, politics, politicians, all that stuff, get it out of fuck as far as I'm concerned. I'm not interested in it. I think it's retarded. Peachy, you're next on the list after Johnson Jones, I think. Ah. There you go. Okay. Nice one, Nick. So we'll get to you as well. So Johnson, your link's been sent. Peachy, you're going to be next on the list here. We got somebody in here called Phil.
Yes, Dell, you have officially been kicked out of the Flat Earth by Timothy Osman.
So we're still getting these people.
Come on, man. What is this, the guru little talk show you got here going now?
Still get these people that are, you know, desperately trying to disrupt. If you want my attention, I'm giving you the opportunity. You can come in here and speak like a man. You're always acting like a needy wee boy. Son,
it's me, right, Dell?
If you get something relevant to talk about, try and be a human being for a wee minute and speak to me about something that's useful or relevant. Never mind playing your projections. You're coming in here because you're scared. That's why you behave like that. You're intimidated by me. I'm not going to intimidate you. I'm not going to jump on you. I'm willing to listen. I'm willing to listen to you. I'm willing to listen to you as an individual and hear what you've got to say if it's something that interests me. But you don't need to come in here like a scared wee insecure boy.
Great. Well, I guess I said yesterday that you have a presupposition that water's flat, so...
See you later, son. Morons. Right. So, let me just set the next one up. So, next person to have emailed me was Peachy. Link sent. Same again. 5 minutes. This will be interesting because obviously Pete Shea here is another one who, for me, perpetuates a lot of propaganda as well. So I'm kind of hoping that he's willing to, discuss these things openly as well. I don't run about YouTube playing propaganda games and trying to slander people's names and character and all that kind of stuff. So I know that Pete's done a wee bit of that, so it'll be interesting to hear his thoughts and his reasoning. And again, I just want to highlight that the lengths that some of these zealot fanatics would go to. We're not even here discussing the dimensions of the earth or any of that aspect. They just can't leave it alone. Well, it makes you think, they've got to be on task. What's their incentive? What's their reason? They can make up bullshit all they want. I'm not the dafty that's going to believe it. How do coordinates work? What type of coordinates? Right, okay, well, let's just see what happens. So Pete Shee's link's been sent.
Greetings, Dal. Can you hear me?
I can hear you, Pete.
How you doing, bud?
No bad. How are you doing?
Good. I suppose the only issue here now, because it's for a personal chat, is that I can't see you in the Hangout, so I'm sort of talking to your avatar.
Yeah,
But that's okay, I guess.
that's the only problem. Unfortunately, it's just the way it has to be, so that I can keep it secure,
Yeah, well, listen, it's not worth the risk. My own channel was taken down for 3 months because of one of these porn bombers, and it hurts, like, you know what I mean. It's a precaution you must take. But maybe I'll put on the main screen and talk to you. I'll put on the YouTube screen just to see your face, because it's kind of sort of different, different sort of interaction going on. But yeah, good to speak to you, man. Good to see the Hangout title as it is, because of course this is all aspects of all of our lives, and it goes beyond sort of the basic questions. We can only spend so much time thinking about so many different things, and as the individuals path themselves, and because it's so difficult to talk in real life. Okay, are you breaking up, or am I?
A wee bit. I can still hear you though.
Okay, I'm just saying because it's very difficult. Maybe I shut down a few tabs here, Dad. But because it's so difficult to talk to anyone in real life, I think in a sense we were given this technology to communicate and talk to like-minded people and try and advance and work on, I suppose, a personal solution first and foremost, but maybe a general solution as well to all of this. I don't know what you'd call it, horror. It's horror, isn't it? It's a sort of a mental horror. Pandora's box opened up in your brain since the computer came along in one sense, and we had open access to so much different information and diverse opinions and points of view.
I think it's always been a bit of a horror for me, to be honest with you. There's aspects of beauty and things that I embrace, aspects of this life, and there's other aspects I just can't reason with. I can't come to terms with, but accept. There's aspects that I just will never accept and embrace. Again, it's just part of the bewilderment of what we're actually involved in here and what's actually going on before us. There's so many missing aspects and avenues that leave us in that place of bewilderment. So I think for me it's always been a bit of a horror, growing up and seeing some of the horrific aspects that people involve themselves in and perpetuate, so
It's horrible, and we can relate that to that. I can relate to that in a real sense, being Irish and having a sort of an affinity with the Scottish and the Welsh, and not to bring any nationalities into it. I love the English people. I've lived there a few times, but England, a few different principalities are responsible for everything we are going through, which is all an illusion anyway, as part of the greater story, as I believe. But yeah, we can pinpoint certain perpetrators, but we can also sort of unite in understanding that we are the victims here, and I think we all can. Guaranteed, Del, we can all relate to what you just said there, because we sense intrinsically something is desperately wrong, right?
And I think I agree with you up to a certain point of us being victims. But also, when it comes a point where we can no longer keep playing the victim card, Pete.
Sure.
As you mature and you become an adult, you have to start taking responsibility for your own processing.
Absolutely.
And again, predators, people that want to manipulate. For me, when we're trying to identify this is what I've always tried to speak to. It's a mindset, and there's a methodology for identifying these types of minds that sow that confusion and oppression amongst people. And I'm not one of these people that's going to be quick to jump to picking out a specific robe, race, creed of people or whatever. I think it's prominent through all aspects of humans, and they all have the potential to wander into these avenues of deceit and manipulation. So, that's pretty much it for me. Yeah, but
well, yeah, absolutely agree with you. When we talk about the sort of the macro and the micro, or the without and the within, we are waking up, and there's no doubt about it. But we're also being led. We're also being fed these technologies for set purposes. And again, this comes down to the individual. This turmoil within, you have to solve that first before you can start pointing fingers outside. And this is where this re-education comes into it. And this is why flat earth is such an important aspect of it. I was talking to someone today, and I reckon just some of the things he was saying, didn't believe in a flat earth, of course, but some of the things he was saying, when he does look into flat earth, the pieces will come together. And I think that's what's happening to all of us. The pieces are coming slowly together.
It's like people are born into the branches of the tree. And for me, you've got to trace your own life back to the very root, the trunk and the roots of that tree. And you find that that's, the very first assumption that was made was where you actually are, and how you never properly questioned that. So people have to retrace their steps back to the very fundamental, the foundation, before they go running about on the branches of the tree, talking about that stuff, which people are entitled to explore, because obviously that can lead you to the deeper questions. But I mean, me, everybody that comes here knows that's been my whole walk, is questioning the very fundamental, because it's the foundation that everything else is built upon. So when you get there, everything else crumbles.
And that brings an interesting question that I've often raised is, as I know people don't like to be labeled, but just in a general sense, flat earthers. As flat earthers, what do we mean when we use the term earth? You see, when we think in a heliocentric model, we're delivered a complete package. We have a picture of the earth with its thin atmosphere spinning around slowly. They never show it spinning, of course, but just to have that still shot of it. So that's ingrained in our mind when earth is mentioned. When we come to the flat earth, what do you mean by that? And what I mean by that anyway is the earth that we live on, that's just a part of it, the ground being flat, but the earth in its confines.
Yeah.
So that means what the whole system may consist of taken in unison, because you can't separate the different aspects or the different layers. Just like ourselves, we can't separate our heart from our mind, from our groin, whatever, you know what I mean? We're made of it's the component parts that make up the whole. And you often know, or sorry, not you often know, but from previous conversation, I've often said it, that flat earth is just the beginning, and we need to put our own picture of our own reality and get back right to the very roots, as you just said, and take it from there, because we're not up for any more lies. We're not up for any more deception.
Yeah.
And I think I can speak for a lot of people here. We've certainly grown in terms of our heart. We want the best for people. We don't want all of this pain, all of this suffering. And let me just say, Del, I know I can speak on as well. The way I view this now, it's a great game of life. There's more to us than all of this. And it's by facing our own demons and embracing our own angels, I guess, the good and the bad within all of us,
Yeah.
that we can sort of come to recognize our true selves and those true shining qualities.
Yeah.
But that's just myself, you know.
There's many layers to it, as you say. People have to endeavour to understand themselves and their own processes. For me, that's one of the biggest roots of all. You know, if people can embrace who they actually are and commit to that, then they're in a place of honesty. They're not trying to run away from themselves, because when
Yeah.
people are running away from themselves, that's when they adopt a lot of these projections and start living in falsities, you know. But getting back to what you were saying about the bigger picture, I mean, obviously it's the same for me, and you see a lot of that. You know, again, you know, the term flat Earth is a pretty loaded term, and it encompasses, people try and encompass everybody in one umbrella. But what you see in regards to what you're talking about is people bring forth the pre-existing thought patterns from the heliocentric model, and they try and reason from a new ground, still trying to bring in old habits, old thought processes, and try and somehow, you know, establish what's going on in regards to the bigger picture through that image of the heliocentric vacuum space balls. So I mean, people don't really need to grasp it. They have to start again. And that's, again, for me, that's why I'm always standing on that ground of saying, well, I don't know. But what you need is clarity, and we need to move forward with that honesty and clarity, so that we can try and figure out exactly what's going on and not be blinded by any bias or beliefs or delusions or any of that kind of stuff, you know. So
Yeah, I know you play guitar, Del, and you probably have many other talents as well. The one thing I do when I write songs is you write them from yourself. They come from within.
yeah.
So it's not about thinking what someone else may think of it. You know, that's not going to get you anywhere. Of course, we went through that process, but yeah, you soon realize that everything comes back to oneself. And yeah, no one can tell us the truth. You can't tell anyone else the truth. We're all learning from one another. The truth has to be gleaned itself by the individual because it's worthwhile, right?
Yeah.
I used to say there's two things in existence, truth and the lie. But no, there's only one thing in existence, the truth, because the lie is built on the truth.
Yeah.
And I've said it as well. If you're considering flat Earth for a period of time, you want to start to think beyond as the individual, because there's a much greater picture there. And that goes back to us and our story. So everything does connect. But your platform here is for a different purpose, Del, on the whole. I mean, you know, and that's a very worthwhile purpose as well, because there's always new people coming in. So when they look at the basic questions, right, it's categorically shown to them with a bit of thought that this isn't in fact the case. Wherever they go from there in terms of their investigation, that is down to the individual. There's only one person in existence here in this life, and that's you. You're the only one who's been in your shoes. So yeah, absolutely, you have to come to terms with yourself. And yeah, well, this is what I talk about, the heliocentric being the heliocentric, L representing the material, right? So we're given the contrast of the material universe exactly for that, for the sake of contrast. So when we realize there's an immaterial aspect to ourselves, and that's not hard to relate to, Del, we think, right?
Yeah.
A thought has no dimensions, whereas the physicality has,
Yeah.
and we are both. And that's where the heart
Well,
center comes into it, is the bridge between the two, because yeah, it's the immaterial and where the material and immaterial meet. But anyway, that's a different matter. But yeah, let me just say about the externalization, and you keep bringing it back to the same thing again. It's all about you. We're encouraged at every step to externalize things, when ultimately everything goes back to you. You're the only one who's walked in your shoes, and you're the only one who can ever see yourself from your point of view. And I think at the end of the day, right, when we leave, we shuffle off this mortal coil, we'll meet our greater selves, and there's no hiding from that. And we'll go, you know, fuck it, we knew everything along the way. We just refused to listen to ourselves.
Well, you know, I hear a lot of these concepts, and you know, again, I'm suspended on committing to what's actually going to happen. I'll just deal with that when it happens. But you know, I'm on the side of you know, obviously mind, subjectivity, the consciousness, the I, for me is metaphysical, and it's something I'm going to be speaking about soon in regards to what is a force. You know, and separating from what we call the natural world and bring it into the realms of us as a biological machine that has a physicality to it, and tracing back to the point of where the metaphysics actually is, and highlighting that and showing how it's been hijacked and intertwined with physics, metaphysics, misconceptions about what we're actually speaking about. Because for me, that is it. When I look at myself, there is a metaphysical aspect that I can't bring out, quantify and show anybody. We can only trust in each other's, you listen to each other and take it on, for granted that you are conscious, you are a being, you are an experiencer, you have an identity, you have a certain essence to you. But we can't prove any of these things to each other. But in my own experience, I can speak to that from my point of view. I can trace back the physicality, the mechanisms of reality requiring some sort of push source. So one surface has to impress upon another surface in order for motion to begin. But when I trace it back to the point of impulse, past the mechanical, it's a metaphysical realm. And I think that's been hijacked and taken on a wrong path. So hopefully I can speak to that and lay out some thoughts that maybe people have never considered. So.
Absolutely, it's direct experience. The only thing we can count on, and we can even be wrong in that, we can misremember. In terms of me talking to you, yeah, we can't prove that this is part of a reality, but we'd bet everything we had, right? I'd bet everything I have. I'm pretty much talking to you in real time now, and there's a real existence to you. If I could transport over there, I'd find you exactly where we know you are, and likewise here in Ireland. So yeah, but beyond that, then it gets more and more vague. But yeah, in terms of communication, then this is where it all comes back down to words and sounds and letters. And numbers, for that matter, and it's by understanding the numbers. Michael Jackson and Jackson 5 said it's as easy as ABC 1 2 3, 1 2 3 ABC. This is where the meaning. You see, with every word that's uttered, right, a picture forms in our brain. I can get everyone who's listening now to think about a giraffe, for instance, with the extraordinarily long neck. So it's by the word that you accept and you translate that into a picture. And this is where they've hijacked words, and you know this well enough as well. But yeah, the most important thing is the word and the association with the picture formulated. And that's what I keep saying about flat Earth. Coming to flat Earth, if you've just settled as the individual with yourself on a flat piece of land and nothing else, then you've left a whole canvas blank and pretty much dark, because you've only partially filled in the imagery. So yeah, this is where it comes back to the basics as well, Del. And of course, we are taught a language, whereas the true language is, well, that's a different thing. Vibration, maybe, getting back to the metaphysical or the different aspects to ourselves.
Mm-hmm. Well, it's about intent. And again, for me, language and imagery is built through association and a process of learning. So again, that's an aspect that the individual has to look at and address for themselves and realise what's triggering them, what feeds certain thought processes. And again, for me, there's a process to understanding that, and it's part of what I want to speak to, because you can identify the separation of the observer and the physicality, the processor that is the brain, that runs and functions of its own accord. And if you don't take responsibility, you can become subject to the physical machine. It's up to you as the experiencer to take control of that and filter what's actually coming in and put it in its allocated place. File things, categorise them, learn your relationships with them, learn how they're affecting you psychologically, emotionally. Because as you say, for me, we're entwined and linked with this physical, biological machine that has its own processes, that's linked to this realm, this reality. And for me, in my personal opinion, if you like, or deductions, I see a certain duality that I can't escape from. So whatever that means, I'm not going to jump on the bandwagon of religious narratives and spiritual teachings. I think for me, these muddy the waters. There's no necessity, and I'm always suspicious of people who are pushing them. I've spoke to you about this before, Pete. I'm quite happy for people to express their own concepts, their own ideas, or their own thought processes of how they're viewing existence and what they're coming up with. But it's a different matter when we start projecting these at each other and demanding that people accept them. For me, that's when we start to get a divide. That's part of what's going on in the old habits. That's why we have religious wars. We have people warring with each other because of their subjective projections. And for me, I think we have to evolve past these things and start to realise them and put them in their place,
Absolutely, and it has to be made clear as well where one is coming from. Personally, I've never tried to push down anyone's throat because I have no right or authority to,
Yeah.
and I would be totally ineffective as well. People will hear what they hear, and in real terms, Del, even though you get a massive audience here on a weekly basis, you've probably met a small fraction of them personally, and only talked to a few of them on personal terms, on a few occasions. So we can never be said to be able to relate in any great sense to anyone else.
No.
So yeah, there's never ever any notion of pushing views on anything. But one thing I have found out for certain is that there is an objective reality here, and it doesn't just constitute the ground beneath our feet.
No.
There's greater answers to be had, and I think it's in the seeking that we will find them as individuals, because we're all the same, right?
Well,
we're all the same, and we one thing we know anyway, and I'm sure most of us are in the same boat as well. I accepted science as given, so therefore I accepted my origins as given, i.e., from a Big Bang. And it's interesting choice of names as well. That, of course, in one sense, we all did. My universe began with the Big Bang. my mum and my dad. So
or a quick bang.
With my own child.
It might have been a small bang.
well,
might have just been a quickie morning bang.
I don't myself on camera, but it was a big bang. I'm kidding, man.
I think you're just talking your old man up there, keeping his pride alive, but.
Well, not to worry, but he passed on last year from cancer as well, which lots of people are dropping from like flies. But look, maybe everything for a greater reason. I certainly don't think life is the end, but I was coming from an atheistic point of view, because you see, the whole package was handed to me on a plate.
Yeah.
I was in science, into science. I studied in university. I had an active interest in the world around, or the universe around. But I was an atheist, right? In terms of there was no purpose, rhyme, or reason behind anything. Everything was by chance. And when our time ends here, we just dissolve back into unknowing, I guess, or whatever.
Yeah.
But yeah, this is the great thing about flat Earth. This is what I'm saying, Del. Absolute flip, then. Absolute flip. When you come to realize that the universe that we experience is so much more up close and personal, it changes us to the very core. Whether you're right or wrong, that doesn't matter. You're not kidding yourself at any step of the way is the thing. You always, as an individual, have to be open to changing your mind or point of view about anyone and anything. And more particularly, as you just mentioned, be careful about bringing aspects of the heliocentric model or the Big Bang model into your new way of thinking, because you'll only muddy the waters. You have to be willing to let everything go and build your own mansion on solid foundation.
What's that? And that takes time. We have to make sure we've got the foundations before we start invoking aspects of civilization and how we may live our lives and how we structure things and blah blah blah. A lot of these things are just based on the assumption that we're on a delicate rock with no rhyme or reason and nowhere else to go. Let's try and establish what it actually is first before we start getting to any of that. Again, it's aspects of people wanting to climb the branches before they've experienced the roots and the trunk, so...
Well, I mean, Del, in fairness, many people here have been in this arena for years on end. So once we all know the Earth is, I know we don't like to commit, but the ground we're on, for all intents and purposes, as far as we can understand, is flat and level. I often say this, in terms of level, water level, Earth-wide, the biggest variation from absolute horizontal to absolute level under normal calm circumstances is the highest variation in tides Earth-wide. And that's something like 30 meters up and around Alaska. So that's 100 feet. That's the biggest variation in terms of water level Earth-wide. And that's an amazing thought, coming away from the spinning ball Earth and our picture of all that water clinging to an impossible position. But yeah, the point is then, we can't to go beyond that. We're definitely in the realms of the unexplored territories, where there's lots of different points of view and lots of different thought avenues. We're also set and led, Del, as you know well. We're set and led at every hand's turn. Every conspiracy that comes out, everyone is catered for. Yeah. So don't think that just because you spot NASA lies and you see the strings or you see the obvious CGI, you're a genius of some sort, because you're not. You were set and led. And the people, whoever are, I don't like to use any of these words, control. I think ultimately we're in control, and there's a bigger picture here. But the people who you think are in control, not you, people who we associate with being in control, they're always many steps ahead of the game. So if we want to make any inroads into solving our own puzzle here, then we have to think along similar lines. You know what I mean?
Nice one, mate.
All right. Well, Yeah, I didn't have much more to say. There is lots. I talk about Aristarchus a lot, Del, and the dodo, and how great stories are told through metaphor, and we can all appreciate that as well. You know, the
Well,
true language is the symbols, right? Once we can understand the symbols, then we can start to understand the words. So if we understand that every
well,
building block of a
Pete,
word is a letter.
in regards to some of the more kind of complex aspects of your concepts and your theories, I think it would be more justification done if you just, you know, encourage people to come and listen to you on your podcasts and on your own channel, and then they can get a better understanding. You know, obviously here on this, it's trying to give people as much, you know, time as they can to express a bit of themselves and who they are. And then obviously some of this other stuff that you may want to elaborate on, it'd be better served if people came to your platform and had a listen for themselves. You know?
No, I know the restrictions here. I wasn't going to go into any great detail, just to mention it, that there is a greater story beyond, and we remember that lots of truth is hidden in metaphor, in representative text, you know, and if we take the literal, we might lose the true meaning. And again, it all goes back to what we think the nature of this experience we are having is. I'll go off if you're in a hurry to get someone else on, but I will say that for me, we are in a divided state here above having this experience, and maybe the ultimate purpose of it all is to reunite within. And
there's various aspects. There's various aspects of these kinds of talks that for me we make assumptions that a lot of people don't realise are making assumptions that this has to be fixed or this has to be altered. For all we know, it's supposed to be like this. You know, it has to be like this. And also the aspects of people trying to place transcendental meaning, you know, some sort of transcendence from this experience that emanates out into other dimensions or some metaphysical realm. I have issues with these things. These things are based on assumption for me, and I think people can wander into these avenues without actually clarifying their own processes, you know. So
sure, but don't forget, Del, there's lots of secret societies around that that have lots of different secrets that they protect amongst themselves, and the higher up you go, the ladder, the more you know. So there is a different story being told, and it's up to us to read the signs, I guess. And first of all, learn the proper language. And I understand what you're saying. It is a very dangerous territory, and anyone who's come down the conspiracy pathway has needs must, I suppose, taken some of these dead end turns.
What I've learned for myself is that, you know, getting to these echelons of, you know, whatever secrets they may have, the best ground I can get to is realising that I can only base things on my experience, and I can discern for myself, and realising the aspects of when I lend myself to be influenced, where I place my attention, and really draw back and placing the responsibility back at my feet. You know, it can flip into quickly people becoming victims and wander into a victim mindset and thinking they're at the hands of some oppressive, you know, super beings who have got extreme knowledge and blah, blah. There may be aspects of human beings who have knowledge that we don't understand, but, you know, you can sort your own home out, your own internal self out, so that you're on a solid ground of being able to discern and analyse what's being put to you and what's going on around about you. So first and foremost for me, it's always about placing that at the feet of the individual. Make sure they've got that sorted out, rather than wandering into looking for somebody to blame or be the victim. You know, I think that's a dangerous mindset.
Yeah, but things are worse than ever. I mean, look at the New Zealand hoax shooting there recently. More rights have been taken away on the back of all of this fraud. So things seem to be worse than ever. And the tactic that's going on doesn't seem to be working en masse, as far as I can see anyway. Around here in Limerick, you're walking around the town, everyone seems miserable to me. Or if they're not miserable, they have on a sort of a false masquerade. So you know, we have to get deeper, and I understand that you're reluctant to go there. I think I have my own idea of why that might be, and I accept that.
I'm not reluctant to go there. It's just I have a different approach. I can identify the aspects of oppression, manipulation through a walk, through a mindset, and the practices that they utilise and the tools that they use. And for me, it's about trying to identify that with people and highlight these aspects, rather than just, you know, trying to place people on a point of blaming this group or blaming that group. You're never going to get anywhere with that, you know, just shooting arrows in the dark. If you learn the walk of manipulation and you learn the tools and the tactics that they use, the picture becomes a lot clearer for me. I can see these aspects a lot clearer. You know, I may not get to the root of the people behind the scenes or, you know, who's got the money to fund and all these kind of things, but I can see the players. I can see the tools that they're using and they're utilising. And people walking about in misery, it's because everybody's involved in a system where it doesn't nurture the soul. It doesn't nurture in the individual to progress and become, independent. People are wandering about in a fucked structure, chasing their tail for unsatisfactory ends. Yet they think that that's life, though. They're tied up to this solid, this is life, I must fulfill these roles. Everybody expects it of me. This is what I've always been told, so I'm going to get out my bed at 7 in the morning and go to my dead end job with my face tripping me and, wear a mask, wear a face. So, people need to take a stand in themselves with these things and realise what they are,
Yeah, and that's why I think it's important, because there's many different aspects of life coming at us. So it's important to deal as the individual with these different aspects in tandem, and they all do connect. And well, as I said, I'm happy. I've reduced down flat Earth to or is flat plane beneath our feet anyway, to the basic principle that you talk about it a lot as well. But if the Earth can be proven not to move, then the ball doesn't enter the equation based on the universal behavior of water at similar temperatures and pressures, and that is flat when stationary. When you let that sink in, or as I have, let it sink into my brain, the spinning ball Earth is out of the question. And I was going to send to someone today. He was talking about the flat Earth being a metaphor for something, and his spherical Earth being the reality. And I said, you got it exactly 180. The flat Earth is the reality, and the spinning ball is the metaphorical instrument. But listen, I'll leave it go there, Del. I haven't done a Hangouts in a while, but it certainly is involved, some of the stuff that I talk about. But that doesn't mean that because it is one man talking about it, there isn't truth to it. For the first time, all of this stuff that I talk about is tangible. You can go out and see the repeating cloud patterns in the sky, and just as your own investigation, and I know others have seen them as well, and you can sort of take it and piece together the picture from there. What I will say about flat Earth before I go is we've entered a whole new world of wonders, and anything becomes possible. But it's now more than ever, you want to have your screw headed on, or your head screwed on. So on that note, I'll leave you talk to someone else, and take it easy. Maybe you might come on my Hangout one day, Del, and we can have a more in-depth chat about what maybes in life and this experience we're having. So take it easy, bud.
Nice one. See you soon.
Okay.
Take care.
Aristarchus out.
So, if anybody's interested in where Pete's coming from, you can check his channel out. Pete Shear, you'll see it in the chat box. Where am I here? Just bear with me. I'm going to set another one up and send the next link. Right. Where am I here? Alright, so Robert Matthews, you were next on that. Let me just... Where the hell's it went? What's going on here? So again, people are totally entitled to come from their point of view and talk to whatever they want to talk to. It's up to people to engage with that, question things, see what you find, relate to things, again, whenever we get the chance to talk about some of the propaganda aspects of, people who focus on character and persona and look, that kind of stuff, you should be ignoring that. Listen to what's being offered to you by each individual, shut your eyes and just listen to what's being said or offered up, and then take it from there. The rest of it is all to influence you by use of propaganda tactics. It's no a fair critical assessment of any information or spoken word. So you really shouldn't be entering into those realms. And if anybody is offering that up, you know that they're just playing, you know, illogical games, muddying the waters and sowing confusion. So, High Level Awakening, Robert, that's been sent to you. Did I start it? I did. What's going on in the chat here?
Hello?
Hello. How you doing, mate? You hear me?
Yeah, I can hear you fine.
Nice one.
Nice one. Hey, I get nervous when, you know, I do this. So I was happy that Pete was before me. And also want to say that I appreciate it, Pete. I've given you a fair amount of shit before. And I appreciate the effort that you made to keep the conversation on point.
Yeah.
You know, and that's what we need is sound people, not trying to control what's being said, just sharing.
Exactly. You know, that's it. People learn, Robert. You know that people can identify it in themselves when they're contributing to some of the nonsense. So I'm always willing to resolve and see if people have moved beyond it, and you know, keep it on point and keep it away from the realms of judging each other's characters and persons and all that kind of stuff. You know, nobody has any grounds to stand on with that, and it's just a never-ending battle. You know, so I'm not interested in any of that crap, mate.
Right. I don't know. I was wondering what I wanted to talk about, but Pete hit on something right there at the end.
Sorry, going down the road.
Okay. All right, love you. Pete mentioned something, and it's something that I've been thinking about, and it kind of plays into what we keep on getting fed. Everybody keeps on wanting to go to the visual aspects of this, right? And Pete commented on if there's no motion, then there's no globe. Of course, we know there's no globe anyway. But it seems rather than the subjectivity of the visual, right? Like I haven't seen Walter Williams in chat, but he's always talking about a 50 cal. And there's a video that was up on YouTube. Anybody can look it up. It's a 50 cal fired straight up, right?
Yeah.
The bullets shot straight up in the air. They actually shoot 3 of them up. The bullets stay up for 1 minute and 50 seconds and land close enough to the shooter to where you can hear them.
Yeah.
Right. And in that time, the earth should have moved if it's moving, and the bullet should have been out of earshot.
Well, that's it. I don't know if you've heard before, but that used to be one of my party pieces, Robert. We used to go camping up near Oban, particularly when we had a kind of overcast sky. I could fire a 2.2 air rifle straight up, and I could keep my eye on it, and I could catch it as it came back down again. So, you know, things like that right there show, you know, the nonsense of the Coriolis and the motion of the earth beneath my feet. You know, I've experienced that personally, and it used to be a party piece of mine. So,
yeah, I've never seen that. That's pretty brave there.
yeah.
That's
you need to be sharp, but you're going to take it in the eye, you know.
right. You better be able to catch.
Yeah.
But I saw something on, and I personally, you know, you wanted people to come on and talk about what they're personally doing, and I know it's not a counseling session or whatever, but here the past couple months.
It can be if you want.
Okay. Well, here the past couple months, I've been really struggling with the job aspect, and somebody I'm sub to, it was either Cameron or Matthew or somebody, was talking just the other day. They've been trying to talk to their sister, you know, a sibling about this. And, you know, there's a fair amount of isolation that goes along with this, you know, and I've kind of been struggling with it, and I've been struggling with the aspect. Okay, obviously, I guess everyone would have determined by now I'm an American, right? And so with this realization of the level stationary plane, there's a huge burden of the deception on Americans, you know, and I see it in a lot of the chats, and sometimes I feel like, you know, the whole patriotic idea of countries and me being an American and all that has kind of fell by the wayside for me with this realization, you know. It seems really stupid now at this point, you know.
For me, it's kind of stupid anyway. You know, patriotism. It's like people are investing in an imaginary line or a particular landmass and trying to define themselves and identify themselves by, you know, previous events and culture, and you know, again, it's just a symptom of me. For me, are people trying to cling to certainty and belonging. And I think there is a constitutional aspect of humans that seek that, but we're placing it in falsities because we don't have the original narrative of our true chronological sequence of natural real history. You know, that seems to be severed, and we just have these substitutes in place, these ideas that are just false, that we attach to, we define ourselves by it, and then we stick by it and try and defend it. So for me, all that patriotism, I've never been like that. I've never identified myself as, you know, I'm Scottish and, you know, this, that and the other, or I'm whatever kind of denomination. I've never understood any of that, to be honest with you.
Well, I don't know what they do over there in Europe in the schools, right? But in the United States, when I was growing up, they've kind of changed it a little bit now, from what I understand. But every morning in the beginning of the school day, we had to get up, put our hand on our heart, and recite the Pledge of Allegiance to the flag. And we were heavily indoctrinated, probably before even the globe, with patriotism.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Yeah.
And it's just that was a real hard thing for you know,
I think
me to let go.
Yeah.
You know,
I don't think for me it's such a bad thing if it's a good message that people are standing by. You know, if you're talking about liberty, freedom, you know, discernment for the individual and proper tools, you know, that's a message for me that's worthwhile standing by. But the fact that it's, you know, these things are stated and people hold their hand in their heart, but yet the walk that they walk and the life that they're leading just doesn't match that. You know, there's a total contradiction and absurdity there for me when I see a lot of these things. And just to talk a wee bit, you know, the isolation aspect, Robert, I always have to look again back to the individual and say, well, what's that rooted in? You know, because for me, I have never had to seek, you know, acceptance or belonging with anybody. I think there's an aspect to us that we like to have some social interactions, but I lived a lot of my life, particularly my teenage through my 20s, in isolation. I never went out, I never socialised, and I started to experience myself with more clarity. I started to enjoy my own company. I started to relinquish and let go of the need to be accepted and viewed by others and feel part of, you know, other groups and what they were up to, what they believed in, you know, their practices. So, you know, for me, I think we always have to look at ourselves and see that we place our own expectation or our own needs into the arena, and then we're subjecting ourselves to that because we're not getting what we set up our expectations to be. Does that make sense to you? I don't even know if I'm...
Yeah, that makes complete sense. But it's okay. I've kind of been like you, that I've never been into idle chit chat and stuff like that. If we're not discussing something that's at least halfway important, I really don't want to discuss it. And after I got past my early years of enjoying drink in bars and doing that thing, you know, I don't really have time for the idle chit chat. I'm not I can't sit around in a crowd and sound interesting, right? But by the isolation aspect, I mean, like, I'll go with my wife over to a friend's or something, and a topic will come up, and I'll start steering the conversation, not intentionally, okay, but like, okay, you want to talk about something that's serious. Let's talk about, I'll give you, for instance, somebody talking about Trump or politics or something like that, right? Okay, that's a symptom of the problem. Okay. And this is completely subjective. This is just my opinion. I can cite tons of evidence to support it, but it's my opinion the entire plane is being run by one criminal cabal. Okay. The idea of governments, if you look around, I'll give you a, for instance, 5G is being shoved down everyone's throats across the plane. Okay, without exception. Okay, regardless of health effects, regardless of anything. Okay, the way it's being moved in the different aspects of social suppression, or you can look at vaccines, you can look at any aspect. It's being carried out equally across the plane. You can look at the space agency, same fucking program across the plane. You know what I mean? The idea that there's different governments and enemies and shit like that going on is, to me, absurd. There seems to be one narrative coming down. You know what I mean? And so when I'm talking to somebody and they start talking politics, it's like, let's talk real politics, you know? And I start steering the conversation around, and, you know, I get people looking at me, people that know me will look at me like, oh no, you're not going to do this. You know what I mean?
It's back, sorry, for me, that analogy, it's back to the branches. People want to run about on the branches of the tree, and you want to get to the trunk and get to the root, and that's where you want to talk it. And I experienced that as well, mate. You know, people want to talk from the branches, slinging shit and apples and bananas at each other, you know, and talking past each other from, you know, an uneducated, you know, a place where they've not really considered or contemplated deeply enough. So I totally relate to that, mate. I'm always the same. I'm the same as you. It's like I always want to get right to the trunk, right to the roots of issues or aspects that we're talking about. But people are just content to, as I say, swing from the branches and sling shit at each other. And it is isolating. I totally get where you're coming from on that aspect.
So, well, I really don't, I want to just spit out one more thing. I'll give room for other people. I just kind of, two things really. One, I put something up on my channel that I only left up for a little bit. It won't go back up. My channel is not going to be about putting shit up on against people. Okay, I just heard a bunch of shit getting talked, and I felt like I had something to contribute to it. Everybody had an ample opportunity to make a copy of it. We know that, you know, the claims that people weren't doing shit is a lie. Okay. So anyway, that's enough on that. And the other aspect of it, like Pete was talking about the difference in the tides across the plane, right? And what seems real obvious to me, and this is just, again, my theory, right? You see all this talk about the ice wall dome nonsense and all this shit. If there had been an ice wall surrounding us, and this is more for people that don't participate in the chat and everything like that, because I know there's a lot of people that have adopted a false model. Okay, if there had been an ice wall surrounding us, the globe lie would have never been needed. Okay. I think it's something as simple as another shoreline, and I don't think it's that far away. Okay, I really don't. And when I first ran across your channel, right, I heard a lot of talk about exploration. Okay, and this is something that I think people need to consider, because we may get the opportunity at some point, okay, to leave and go where we want if we have the means. Okay. And something to consider, there's not going to be a 7-Eleven or Burger King or grocery store. Okay. These common things that you're used to. Okay. If you're a person that takes in your mind that you might want to be one of these people that venture out onto the plane, you might want to know basic fundamental survival skills. Okay. And those fundamental survival skills, in my opinion, it's just my opinion again, and I'll get off here. I think they're going to crash the US dollar. Okay. They have to let NASA out of it at some point. I tried to bring this up before when Russian Vids was on, and he just talked over me, and then we got disrupted.
Yeah.
But I feel like they, you know, this is coming out. It can't be stopped. They're weak attempt at attacking the subject. They've got no foundation. So exponentially, this truth will grow.
Yeah.
Okay. And NASA's never going to own it. So really, they have one and two choices, in my opinion. Okay. I'm sure they have another game plan, but they, in my opinion, to keep this from coming out, they will either go to war, and from the United States perspective, I think it's against China. Okay. But more likely because they want the United States guns. Okay.
Yeah.
We're the last people with them, and then they can do whatever the fuck they want.
Yeah.
Right. The easiest, Americans will never give up their guns. And this is just something to watch out for you guys in the UK and elsewhere. Right. It's my opinion that they're going to crash the dollar, and the ensuing civil war that will go on in the United States will be so outrageous because everybody damn near is armed. Okay. And when people are trying to feed their family, humans get really ugly really quick.
Yeah.
And the ensuing horror that will happen in our country will be enough of an excuse for them to take away our guns.
Yeah.
Okay. But if they collapse the dollar, the ripple will be affected around the world. And the smart thing for you to do, and I'm not telling you to go and be a prepper, stockpile guns and all this stupid shit, okay? But I'm saying that you should, life straws are only 20 something bucks, and you can dip into a dirty puddle and drink it.
Yeah.
Okay. And you should know how to make a fire, and you should have enough food in your house to feed your family for a week.
Or understand the means in order to get yourself food. What grows locally, what's available to you. You know, if you have to hunt, you know, you need these types of skills. Totally, mate. I mean, you know, I agree with that. That's one of the aspects of proper education. You know, as a sentient being alive in this world, these are some of the skills that we should have as a fundamental. And again, you can see that it's been obviously avoided to breed dependency, so that, you know, in these types of times, people are more likely to just coerce to a particular, you know, narrative or process, whatever it may be, because they are dependent. So it's all tools that are utilised to breed dependency and make sure that we're never standing totally independent. So that if any of that stuff ever happens, you know, they can bring in some new rule, new era, whatever, and people are still going to maintain that same level of mind. They're going to be dependent, so they're always going to be looking to these government authorities to feed them, house them, you know, keep their survival going. So I totally agree with you, mate. People need to sort that shit out.
Well, and I'll get off here after this comment, right? A lot of people spend a lot of times in these debate chats and different stuff like that. Yeah. Yesterday I got a little frustrated, and rather than participate in that, I watched a guy, and he's in Russia, he does different stuff on how to harvest chaga and make chaga tea.
Yeah.
You know, YouTube has everything you need to learn basic life skills. You can go out in your backyard or on your porch and learn how to start a fire without a lighter.
Exactly.
You know?
Exactly.
I mean, and you may never need it. You may never need it.
But it's more useful than spending your time trying to do battle with some other zealot and, you know, compete against your ideas in a never-ending battle that's just going to drain your energy, usurp your focus, and that could be spent elsewhere, you know. So 100% agree with you, mate. Also, I just want to say, sorry, on you go. I was just going to say, you know, you're talking about the 5G thing. There's a account in chat will be Pandemonium known as, and I know that guy is got information and knows a bit about the 5G, so it might be worthwhile, you know, maybe having a chat with Pandemonium if he's there and he's up for it. And see what he can cross reference. So,
all right, I'll go ahead and get off here, Del. I appreciate it, and thanks to everybody in chat for your, you know, for you guys being there. If I felt like I was all alone, this would have been really tough, you know. So thank you very much.
I appreciate you coming on, mate. Cheers.
All right.
Right. Stop that. Right, I'm just going to set another one up and we'll get to the next person who has emailed. It's Robert from Eye Level Awakening, Emerald Rider, that's who that was. Anybody who's interested, the channel was Eye Level Awakening. I don't know if Pandemonium's got an active channel. I'm just going to throw out names of people who I know have got certain avenues of interest and maybe some knowledge there that people can utilise. So I hope you don't mind, Pandemonium. Obviously there's no obligation for you to get involved in any of that if you hear this, so I wasn't meaning to throw you into it. Also, I just want to take this opportunity to remind people about Des, Sheeps and Neeps and Anne Flat Earth Female, who have existing PayPals right now, and would appreciate anybody's contributions, whether it's product or, you know, some sort of monetary, if you can afford it. For me, it's a worthwhile cause. These people are endeavouring to battle against, you know, illnesses. And again, you know, anybody who thinks they want to maybe put something in a super chat here or offer me up money or anything that you think you would want to give to me or this channel, I would ask you to direct it in their attention. The links to their channel and PayPals are in the description of this. So I'm going to keep shouting that out until these people, you know, get what they need to get. So next is, let me see, where were we? Eye level, Alan. That whatever sent from mine. Okay, Alan. So I'll send you the link, Alan. I'll give you 5 to 5 minutes. Hopefully you've got something that you know you want to discuss. Where am I here? Yeah, right. Nice one, Juan Carlos. It's ridiculous. It's again just parts of the symptoms that people can't pursue their own means of treatments and practices, you know, without some fucking official dipshit trying to impose sanctions on them for, you know, something that grows natural. It's just, again, you know, it bores me to even mention these things because it's so obvious the absurdity that anybody would try and restrict you from that. You know, who are these fucking people? You know, this is part of the aspects I've always struggled with. Why are people no breaking out of this and standing up and saying, fuck you? Who the fuck do you think you are? That you think you can dictate to the rest of us what we should and shouldn't get up to, particularly when it's in regards to our own being and our own decisions to seek whatever practice we want. You know, that's not imposing on anybody else. That's up to an individual for themselves. They should have the right and the freedom to explore that. Again, it's just old hat, all this old system, these methods of control, this dominance. It's this fucking boring, pathetic crap. It really is the shit on my shoe. Honestly. I can't wait. I'd love to see the day when people actually, under the true meaning of the word, evolve and break out of this, you know, subduing mind state that they're in. It's a fucking disaster. that's the level at Graham 9. That's it. That's, you know, you're dealing with insecure, damaged fuckwits, you know, when that's their mentality. I'm bigger than you and I've got a gun, you better do what I want you to do. Pure narcissism. You know? You ever want to see narcissism? Just look at a government and a fucking military. That's all you need to look at, to know that that's what you're under. The rule of narcissistic, psychopathic dipshittery. So I'm waiting on Alan. Oh, we've got a message here for Alan. Alright, broke, get the next person, mate. I would need to call in if you have the phone charged. No worries, Alan. Cheers for letting me know. I'll just going to end that one and set another one up. So the next one here is Eben Kim. So Eben Kim, the link has been sent to you, and Eben Kim wants to talk about many videos have been censored or taken down depending on the subject. What typically gets taken down is how to get freed from the duality that the controllers of the masses want. Even woke people, flat earthers included, get sheep-herded back into another control system. Spirituality and religion is a big one. Need to get people to see through that. Yeah, totally. I'm totally on board with all that. Again, this is the aspects for me that's the deeper aspect, where people have to understand their own triggers, what they're susceptible to, you know, understanding their own needs, their own biases, their own need for certainty and belonging and concepts and ideas, and you know how they attach themselves to these things and then become subject to their own games. So you know, this is where it gets to the point where people have to needle down into their own being and understand what they're contributing to and putting their attentions to, because that's where it lies. You know, I can offer up any idea or concept or product. I can put it out there into the world regardless of what it is, and then it's up to, you know, other people whether they want to buy my products, whether it be a statement of an idea, a concept, some product, you know, whatever it may be. You know, that's lies at your feet. You know, I'm not responsible for that. I'm entitled to say, express, create whatever I like. You're entitled to either take it or ignore it. That's the choice that people have. You know, people think they have to be involved in certain aspects of this pre-existing system, that they don't have choices. It's just ridiculous. That's a cop-out. Again, avoiding responsibility. So Eben Kim, if you're hearing this, your link's been sent. I say I'm going to wait 5 minutes. When did I send that? Yeah, another couple of minutes. So in between, if anybody's got anything they want me to read out, any questions, stick it in the chat box. See if there's any tea on the go. While I'm waiting. See, these predictive texts are fucking pain in the ass. Right. You doing West Coast Wisdom? Professor Jones, Five Arts, Liberalis, Arthur, Felix, how you doing? Realist, Glenn Parent, Brandon Cook. You used to push propaganda on the masses unknowingly. Had a paper round. So, you should burn in hell forever. How you doing, Andy W? Phil Jones. Rory. What's going on here? Okay. So Eben Kim, I'm just going to have to put that down as a no-show. And I'll move up the list here. And just see what's happening. Where am I? Obviously people are free to come back at another time. But as I say, if nobody shows up within 5 minutes, I'm just going to move on and send it to the next. So next up on this here is Nick Phuket Word. That's a link sent to you, Nick. So we've got Nick, Fiona, I'll read them, Patrick Plymouth, Fiona is woken up to deception. I've learned not to talk about. This is Fiona Radavietz. Not sure how to pronounce that, you'll need to excuse me. Mother of two from Australia who has woken up to all the deception. I've learnt not to talk about it. But people are so evil in this day and age, they bring it up to make me look stupid. Well, they're only trying to make you look stupid in the eyes of the chaff, the bewildered. So you should take that in strength, that, you know, these people in their endeavours, again, it comes back to your attachments and whether we would, I'm just assuming, I'm not going to make the assumption that you would be affected by that. But when I see that type of behaviour, I understand it, and I understand that it's their own weakness. And trying to make others look stupid in the eyes of others is the work of a propagandist, somebody who's weak, who feels it necessary and is threatened by your strength, that they have to try and bring you down in the eyes of others. And if people are swayed by that, you have to chalk them up as weak-minded chaff. It's as simple as that, because they've obviously not got the discernment to realise that this manipulator who's trying to portray you in a certain light should be ousted and told right up front to fuck off. You know, again, this is where we have to draw lines in the sand and start standing up to this type of behaviour. Okay, because if we don't, then you're acquiescing to it, you're enabling it and allowing it to perpetuate. So for me, take the right attitude and realise it's a weakness, again, part of the symptom of the mental illness, and stand firm in your own being and be proud of yourself, and fuck the chaff's opinions. I'm ADHD and tend to get very emotional when I feel uncomfortable. I can totally relate and understand to that. Again, I'm talking from my point of view and my walk through life and where I'm at right now. I'm not negating that people are still affected by these things, but I'm not going to ignore the fact that for me, the individual has to see past it and put it in its place, you know. I've worked out this much, it's not what they say. I drive out west every week near Cora in New South Wales, and as far as I can see, it's flat. Since waking, I found it to be very isolating, as I've decided they think we're stupid, but it's really because we're smarter than the sheeple. That's it. That's the attitude to take. It's not fun waking up once you're woke. You can't even watch TV or movies anymore. Well, that's it. You know, I can still watch them. I can cherry pick and decide what I'm going to engage my attention in, and I can suspend my analytical reasoning mind for, you know, whether it's 90 minutes of watching a football match or a boxing event or whatever. You know, I can remove my attention. I really respect what you're doing on this channel. Might be your accent. My dad is from Dumfries. He left when he was young and he has never been back. Just wanted to thank you for keeping it real. Thanks, Fiona. It's nice to hear from you. I'm not sure if you were looking for a link. What I'll do is once I get a chat with Nick here, I think you were next on the list. I'll send you the link anyway, just in case you did want to come in for a wee chat. So appreciate your email though. Nick, how are you, my man?
Good. How you doing, man?
Yeah, I'm good, mate. Oh, sorry, I'm just bear with me a wee second, Nick. Just I need to shut these down so that I can present you on the OBS.
Okay, cool, man.
Right, there you're there. I can see you now.
All right, cool.
You all right?
Yeah, good. Yeah, nice to hear you and hear you relaxed and just taking it all at a steady pace. It's good, man.
Yeah, that's much easier and much better. Keeps me sane rather than all that nonsense going on.
Oh, yeah. But yeah, we do get triggered, don't we? You know,
Yeah.
because when you're faced with dishonesty and insanity, it's difficult to deal with.
We're all human, Nick. You know, it can get to you sometimes, and you can trigger yourself into reacting, and you know, but it's just part of the experience, man. You know, we get it. I mean, if you look at it, people like us, you could consider that we're under severe pressure. You know, particularly when we come to the online presence and we're being bombarded left, right, and centre. It's only to be expected that we're going to snap and have a short fuse. You know.
Sure. Yeah. Well, I yeah. And of course, the deny, you know, those anti-flat earthers, whatever you want to call them, they see that and they it becomes a blame game. But again, it's just that the frustration is that people are not being honest with themselves. But that's my biggest question. I don't know if a lot of the people that go against this whole thing know what they're doing. Do they know that they have to lie or ignore so many things in order to perpetuate and defend the belief?
Well,
I don't know.
I think there's certain characters where you have to question. The question shifts. You know, I can see in the average Joe blogs, you know, cognitive dissonance, the want to defend a belief, and that may last for a period of time. But these characters, they know where we're coming from. We've endeavoured to get to the root of the issues and lay out the complexities of what's actually going on. And they just ignore it. You know, as I was pointing out last night, I understand guys like Conspiracy Cats and some of these people, you know, where they're coming from in regards to mathematical concepts and the language that they're using and the model that they're trying to invoke. I get all that, but they're no listening to us when we're addressing it and saying, but, you know, there's a separation. So there's aspects where you go, well, that's really ignorant. You know, either it's just pure willful ignorance and a level of stupidity that I can't even fathom, or, you know, these people have got some ulterior motive for why they're trying to perpetuate it. And I would change it now and say that it's not even that they're anti-flat earthers, they're anti-skeptic against the belief in the narrative that they hold to be true. That mere fits the bill for myself, and I know yourself as well, because we're refusing that model and that claim. You know, and we're not making any assertive claims to what it actually is. So I consider myself a globe skeptic, and they don't like that, which is why you see them continually trying to label us with, you know, straw man nonsense and cartoons so that they can try and attack it. you know, and hope that we'll defend it. But you know, people like me are not interested in that. So I would change that from flat Earth, you know, oppressors or opposers to people who just don't want their claim their belief being questioned. They're anti-skeptic.
The group think there, and they often are kind of defending all the other things that many people question, whether it's alternative medicines or the vaccines, and you know, that they all seem to be. Yeah, they don't want change. They don't want questions. They don't want unanswered questions. And the appeal to authority.
One of the aspects for me for that is because they've got a slice of certain slices of the pie. Like there's industries to be protected here. There's people's incomes and lifestyles that they want to defend, and they have an abundance of cash and you know, logistical access that they can utilise and try and maintain what they're invested in, regardless of whether it's good for you and I or anybody else, or the truth or lies. It's just their own, you know, perpetuating their own little bubble, you know. So and for me, a lot of it points to that, you know.
But you were mentioning earlier, I mean, you know, I think it's sorry, excuse me. I suppose it's our human nature for the most part to want to feel part of a group. Personally, I've never really felt that. I've always been, you know, observing the crowd, as it were, and kind of thinking, I'm not like that. It's weird, you know, watching people fight over one side or the other.
I was the same. You know, I'm all for you know, interaction and taking part in kind of social aspects, but for me they were never satisfactory. They were always dysfunctional, you know, practices that were going on. When I spoke about this in regards to like my experience in the military, you know, they utilise some healthy aspects of socialising, where, you know, we have tasks where we're all trying to achieve a certain goal, you know, whether that's to make life easier or better for us, or create, you know, whatever it may be. And if it's something kind of objective like that we're all taking part in, you know, it satisfied me. But the majority of the time growing up and seeing the social interactions, it was all about ego and persona and control and dominance and pissing contests, and that never sat right with me. I couldn't get involved with any of that, and it was never satisfactory to me at all, you know?
Yeah, for sure.
Like me and you setting out to go, right, we're going to, Nick needs a house, let's, you know, we're going to socialise and we're going to work together and we're going to get you a house built, and, you know, we've got a goal, we've got a set goal that we want to achieve that's objective. You know, then we build a relation with each other, we learn to work with each other, we're on an even par, it's feeding us both, where we get satisfaction out of it. I get satisfaction out of seeing you secure with a new home, seeing you happy. You get satisfaction because you've got a companion, somebody that's willing to help and display the types of traits, and we're not looking for anything for each other than to make each other happy and please each other. You know, I don't ever think that's a problem. And I even experienced that when I was a kid. I remember, you know, you used to want to do things for people just so that you could see them happy, and then they would try and turn it around and give you praise, but that always felt uncomfortable. It was like, I don't want any of that. I don't need it. The satisfaction for me is just knowing that I've got the ability to do this for you, and that it makes a difference to you and makes you smile and makes you happy and content. I mean, if we had that kind of attitude, I think we'd go on a lot better. You know, maybe I'm an idealist in that sense, but I can only talk from who I actually am, and that's what I am, you know? So...
I'm sure it's true for a lot of people who get into a career or a vocation that has that kind of aim, and then of course it can end up being misdirected depending on what the leaders of that group want to end up doing.
That's the that's the absurdity of what I was just referencing. You know, now, like, you've got people in office jobs who are, you know, fulfilling these roles that are just fucking mind-numbing and crap, and there's a lot of dysfunction. So what they've brought in recent times is team building exercises, where they'll send the office, they'll send the office unit out into like some sort of kind of military camp, or a survival camp, where they learn to relate to each other and build companionship through that kind of practice. Because the practice that they're doing sitting in a fucking brain numbing office doing a mindless task is never going to achieve any of that. So that their interactions are totally dysfunctional. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah, I've been on those things, and again, I've never enjoyed them. Of course, there are those that do. They really get into it. I've always been reluctant to, if I could get out of it, I would.
Yeah. That's it. It's because in that situation, it's just to appease a dysfunctional setting, rather than off your own back and experiencing it with people who you freely choose to be with. So it's totally different. But you can see that they're trying to utilise these aspects to make the workplace a better place. But it's never going to happen. It's going to continually break down because it's an unsatisfactory role that people are involved in.
Yeah. So they have to make a huge effort to keep it all
exactly.
Kind of gel.
You need a team building exercise once every month, probably. Or maybe more than that.
Just interesting what you were saying earlier made me think about how even just a generation ago here, if you're in a village and you get married, then the whole community is going to get together and build a house for the couple. They go and chop down the trees. And everyone uses their skill sets, and it's all done without any payment. For just for them. And someone needs a new house, and it's a great chance for a piss up and all that as well. And what have you. Everyone gets together and kind of has fun. Doing something useful for the community.
Exactly. And I've spoken about that as well. Again, in my experience of going to East Germany from a very young age, because I had family there, and the lifestyle then was pretty much like that. The majority of the time was spent, everybody had a role, whether it be, mowing the grass or tending to the crops that were growing, or, prepping the food or washing the clothes, or, there was loads of time for play and to enjoy each other's company, playing cards, playing music, getting together with a barbecue. That was life. That nurtured the soul, that built bonds between people and sparked creativity and imagination. Do you know what I mean? And for me, it was much healthier, and I consider myself privileged to have been able to experience that.
Yeah. And if we are involved in that kind of lifestyle, then you don't have to be so fixated on, the whole mechanics of it all. This idea of where are we in the universe, etc. Life is fulfilling. You are being fulfilled and kind of mission accomplished, basically.
Exactly.
But we obviously, there is this massive fixation on where did it start? The whole creation thing, is that really something that we should or could even concern ourselves with?
Exactly. I've spoke to that as well before, mate. I always consider things, and sometimes I get to the point I go, do you know what? If we had just been left to flow naturally, would we ever stop and try and reason with our existence and come up with all these philosophical narratives of existence and questioning all these aspects that just usurp our time and energy? For me, it's because it's simple. It's like, if I consider us a flowing river and somebody's coming along and putting banks in the road, so we're having to divert, and that continually keeps happening. Eventually, at some point, you're going to stop and go, wait a minute, what the fuck's happening here? And you're kind of forced to stop and take a look around about you, because you can see it reflected in kids, and it's the same for us when we were kids. We never sat about contemplating all this garbage. We just wanted to move from one thing to the next, to be able to explore and play and experience each other freely, but rules and regulations were put in, which causes a kind of trauma, which, sends you spiraling into aspects of contemplation and self-analysing, and then you've got dysfunctional aspects of bullying and relationships, and it just becomes a whole shit show. So I'm like that. So, sometimes I go, don't put a fucking barrier in the river and it's not going to carve out another channel. Let it flow to its natural destination and leave it be,
Yeah, and this is it. It could go if left to its own devices, it will, things will branch out and just, all manner of things are possible in that kind of,
it'll come to its natural equilibrium, you know?
There's this, absolutely. I mean, whether it's, again, talking about labeling things good and bad, you can't necessarily do that, we all have to die at some point, whether it's horribly or peacefully, whatever. Who knows if that's for a reason, if we have to suffer, but
again, it's the concepts and ideas that are imposed on us and that we adopt, and then we have a relationship to these concepts and ideas of ourselves, of the objective world, of what's expected, all these aspects. It's us that sets all that up, and it's just a matter of identifying that we're attaching to that, and then subjecting ourselves to it, and it's causing fucking problems. Stop adopting the ideas and the concepts and just fucking be. But it's so difficult, and it's becoming more increasingly so. Right to the point, as I was saying earlier, people can't even go and pick a weed to make a medicine to, medicate themselves. We're getting sanctions and fucking laws and impositions happening left, right and centre. It's an inevitability that it's going to erupt into a fucking, explosion. Because you can't keep damming the river up. Eventually it's going to burst that dam and it's going to fucking flow again,
Yeah, for sure. Yeah. It's funny, isn't it? Yeah, you could just take a piece of land and cordon it off or whatever, and all, it would only be us on that land that would be affected by any laws or whatever imposed by any authority. Everything else is just doing its thing. The grass, the birds, the seeds, the air, whatever.
Well, look at what happens to animals and their psyche and physicality when you impose an idea or concept onto an animal, like taking an animal out of its environment and sticking it in a fucking zoo. You see it, the fucking thing's miserable. It's no living its natural flow. So you can see when you put these impositions onto any kind of sentience, and it's not being allowed to naturally grow its natural root, it becomes ill. Psychologically, emotionally, physically, so you can see it,
Yeah, maybe it seems that we've had this. Yeah, it has been this thing of conquering nature and this distrust. Again, you go the Baxter thing, whatever. It's like this. We've got to fix things. You hear the atheist kind of people that keep hearing it about when you talk about intelligent design. Mm-hmm. Regardless of how or who creates it or whatever, but there are people that want to actively just deny this and bring up an example of the human eye as not being, intelligently designed. It's like, well,
exactly. I know they're just they'll look for anything. It makes me wonder, again, it's like kind of religious. If they're actively and being intellectually dishonest in regards to these types of things, I can never reason with any of these people, and I've been one of these people, and I understand my reasons for how I came to that. So maybe it's just a matter of these people, But again, it's been kind of fed to them that it's some sort of superior intellect, high ground. This new age atheist type thinking. I mean, anybody can pull up a religious narrative and pull out the contradictions and take it literally and laugh at it and say, oh, people think there's a guy with a beard in the sky watching us wanking. What a fucking retard. I mean, anybody can do that. But that's the kind of got off on that, and it's bred this kind of new age aspect of superiority where people think they can ridicule a particular religion and then stand on rational, reasonable grounds saying, I came from nothing and nowhere with no rhyme or reason to it. Ain't I intelligent? Fuck off. You're just a dishonest, confused moron like the rest of us. Stop trying to fucking assert yourself, And at the same time, why should I entertain you as rational or logical or any of these things when you're telling me you come from fucking nothing, no rhyme or reason, and then you want to impose some sort of logic or rationale to your thinking? I mean, fuck off. It's a contradiction.
Yeah. Absolutely. Contradiction itself, totally. Yeah. Again, it comes down to this thing. Do people realise that they're making these contradictions? Obviously not, I suppose, in that kind of case. No, it's just...
It's part of the being swept up by the practices in your cult, So atheism's a choice. and you see a certain movement, you see characters, you see traits, you see things going on that you align with and tickle you, and you know, you have revelations within, and then you start to align yourself and think, well, I'm going to identify myself as one of these people because I quite like the look of that. You know, it's just the same as any other idea. You know, nobody knows the full objective truth, so don't start making a stance. I mean, it's fine if you're somebody who's saying you're an atheist in regards to, you know, the propositions of a creator or a god type. I mean, I would say I'm atheistic in that part as well. I'm not going to entertain another man's concept of what a designer or creator may be. So you can consider me the same. But to go on right to the core and say this all appeared from nowhere, with no rhyme or reason to it, all the complexity, the information, the design. I mean, you've got to be a moron if that's where you're coming from, you know?
Yeah, though I suppose the one thing we can observe happening in reality is that our thoughts and desires and stuff can eventually manifest as a physical reality.
Yeah.
This is how, you know, somehow this energy, whatever it is, you know, it gets channeled through us, and something happens in real, you know, something physical happens. Yeah.
Aye, well, that for me, that's the process, Nick. It's about, I'm going to talk about this in one of my upcoming kind of presentations, this aspect of will and intent and desire, and that for me is the metaphysical driving force. And it's a matter of identifying your essence and aligning with that, knowing really what's truly in your heart and what truly interests you. And if you can identify that, you can envision it, and you take the physical steps in order to make it happen, then it will become a manifestation. You know, but a lot of the new age stuff seem to have hijacked that into this, you know, metaphysical realm of just thinking thoughts and, you know, reality is going to alter itself and appear in front of you. For me, that's not right. You have to, you know, physically take part in the whole process and actually endeavour to bring things about. You know, your walk will achieve whatever it is you put your attention to, you know?
Oh, anyone who's built a business or something like that has had to work fucking hard, you know, to make it happen. They've had a, and, you know, and then all of a sudden they just, at one point they look back and it's like, I'm just running along with this now. You know, I've got staff, I've got, you know, assets and stuff, and we just got to, and
then the shift of intent and real drive may shift somewhere along the line, and you see that in people, where people have got a real passionate drive of purity to achieve a certain thing, and then somewhere along the line they start to buy into hype and ego, and they start to transform into this false entity that starts to, you know, behave in irrational, erratic ways that's having a knock-on effect to everybody else around about them, you know?
Yeah. I mean, you see that in something like what is it, the Bhagwan Sri cult? That guy was from India, and then they set up an ashram in Oregon. The guy who had like loads of Rolls Royces,
right?
But yeah, it's like, yeah, he was, you know, he was the kind of guru, and people went to see him, and he got popular. Of course, they were doing their own soul searching, and they felt they were getting some answers and some kind of direction, and of course this cult develops, and these people who were probably good people wanting answers to life's important questions, they end up becoming militant, and you know, it's
dependent. It's going back to the kind of scenario of me helping you build the house, Nick. And while I'm helping you build the house, I realise that you don't have an understanding of a guttering system, for talking sake, or whatever. And then, you know, me trying to maintain that kind of knowledge, so that I then say to myself, well, Nick will need me. Nick will be dependent on me. Now I've got a place where I can utilise and I can use Nick and keep him. You know, I can use that as a manipulation. Where what should really happen is like, you know, you've got a blank spot there, Nick. Here, I know about that. There you go. This is how it's done, and we share it freely. Then we don't have there's no avenues to creep in where somebody's, you know, dominating through the use of, you know, knowledge and lack of knowledge with other people. That's a lot of it for me. I see where it happens, you know. Where people want ownership over things rather than just being altruistic and sharing things freely, particularly things that we really depend on and that are necessary for our survival and existence. You know what I mean? So.
Oh yeah. I think we can all. Personally guilty of that kind of thing myself, as if I don't watch out for it. You know, these you know, opportunities come up or whatever, and you think about it. okay, what do I do? Do I be completely transparent? Do I try and make a bit more money or whatever? It's, of course. But these are things we be constantly on guard with our own, thought processes and actions. Just knowing that these these ideas will come about, no matter how pure we are as a person.
Exactly.
There are all these opportunities to
Aye.
will come.
The fascist dictator is within us all. We just have to keep it in check and realise that it's there and stop trying to kid ourselves on that it's no. As I see a lot of people doing, they try and run away from themselves and kid on that they don't have certain aspects where it's like, no, we're all made of the same stuff here. We all have the same potential. Let's no kid each other on. It's just a matter of embracing it, and then it's a choice and identifying, what you truly are, and recognising when you're susceptible to your own false ego and pretense, and don't let it trick you into thinking that it's a reality.
Yeah. Oh yeah. But it is an ongoing battle for sure, for sure. Easy to see when we look at other people, but difficult to see within ourselves if we don't pay attention.
Yeah. And that's it, none of us are perfect, mate. We all have our shortcomings, and we're susceptible from one day to the next, depending on how we feel, circumstances. You can lose yourself for a day, for a month, for a year, for a lifetime. It's all a matter of how self-aware you are and in touch with your own faculties. Can you always bring yourself back to that central ground and identify yourself again and see what you're attaching to, So there's a whole discipline to it, but it's a practice, mate, you know that. I know it,
Yeah, I think but then, that's when you have to kind of differentiate between the so-called guru who's going to tell you what to think rather than giving you the tools, and then us all being given access to those tools. That's probably what this whole thing is about, isn't it? Our drive is just, okay, here are the tools, and this is how you can use them to sort shit out yourself.
Yeah, exactly. I've got somebody saying, I seen a wee comment. A wee comment there, somebody saying, a budding Buddhist. I'm not trying to be or attain any sort of, label. What I'm talking about here is an expression of who I am internally. I'm not trying to be anything. I have my essence, and it's always been the same since I was a wee kid. Regardless of what I get involved in or the projections or the masks I try to put over myself, I know what I am inside. I know my processes, I know what I'm susceptible to and what I've got to offer. I'm not trying to be anything other than a true expression of what I actually am. So you get people that misunderstand when you're talking about these things. I'm expressing, my subjective interpretation and aspects of me that I identify with. That's it. I'm not trying to be a Buddhist, not trying to be a guru, not trying to be a Hindu or a whatever label you want to try and attach. I can only express my essence and what it actually is in its pure form. So get it right up you with your labels. You're way off the mark,
Yeah, labels are a bad thing.
Aye. It's part of this need to try and control and have certainty. People just sling labels about and try and box things in,
Yeah, it's kind of like that's the kind of the compromise that we find ourselves in, isn't it? We have to have these labels for language, for communication, everything has a label, as it were, but to detach from that and just a kid, for example, we would, the words we learn, you could, like, a kid can pick out a picture of an elephant no matter how much it's kind of, it's a cartoony kind of picture and it's all soft lines, but they could say elephant, and then obviously very early on in life we're given these symbols that, especially for animals, etc., that easily recognizable, and of course one of them is Earth. And what's the picture we're given? A bloody globe. And that is Earth. That's where we are, and so this image is branded into our heads. At people, you just say Earth and people think globe. We don't say that's the globe. We say that's Earth. Home.
This is home. You know, people are deeply rooted in their emotional attachments to it. You know, this is home, this is my belonging, this is where I am, this is my certainty. And that's a very difficult task to rock that foundation. It's particularly in people who you know are attached to it. You know, but it was kind of easier for me, maybe easier for you, because you were never fully invested in it. It never really meant that much to you, you know?
Yeah, yeah. I mean, I have recently been in contact with a guy who, well, I've been working with him for a while, but he eventually broached this whole subject, and he just happens to be a very open-minded guy. And he keeps saying how, you know, he's already been on a fairly long process, I suppose. Just, you know, a similar situation, looking at people and understanding that the whole dynamics. But even a subject as far as this, he's kind of still got. I mean, he admits it, and he's keen to learn, and so that's positive. That's nice, but yeah, I suppose for the most part, we're stuck in a very, you know, some of the stuff that's we're talking about. The subject matter is very, very, very detached from a lot of people's what they consider reality.
Yeah. But it's that aspect that we were talking about the river flowing, and for me, it's a sign of that kind of constitution where, regardless of what, you know, the concept and the reality structure that we have right now, it's that aspect of people that perpetuates it, because they just want to run, they just want to be free, or think they're free to just move and express, and it's that whole saying, I kind of mind what movie, you know, human beings just accept the reality with which they're presented. They seem to be adaptable. It's that aspect of them where they just want to be, you know, freely flowing, you know, and again, regardless of whether it's a false concept or idea, it's just that different people have realised the falsities of these concepts and ideas and are questioning them, because it's not a one glove fits all scenario. You know, any concept or idea is never going to be satisfactory to the whole, because there's such complexity. For me, again, it's identifying that why are we trying to impose one aspect or one glove onto the whole? That's the problem. I don't know why people can't see that. Why are we trying to impose our subjective essence onto other people? We have to separate that subjective realm and the objective realm and accept that. You know, I accept the psychopath. If the psychopath identifies as a psychopath and embraces it fully, I'm not insecure with that. Then I've got clarity. I know the lines and I know where things are. But it's as soon as one aspect tries to superimpose that subjective onto the whole as an objective, it all starts to go to shit, because it's not one glove fits all. It doesn't work like that, you know?
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, we've talked about it before. The predators exist everywhere, and it's up to us to be on our guard.
Exactly.
You know, sure, I accept them. That's them. That's their as it were. And we have to accept that and just
find a place that you can move within it. And as I say, you know, the predators will hide and be sneaky in the grass, but you need to understand that. You need to be wily. You need to understand that that's what's going on, you know, and realise it and keep things where you need them to be in order for you to maintain your being, you know. So, and again, it's not like, you know, we're running out and going, well, all lions and all crocodiles and sharks must be eliminated and kept in prisons because they're murdering psychopathic bastards. No, we don't do that. You know, we try and understand and find a place to live amongst it, you know, that suits for all. But yeah, when it comes to the human aspect, we're all fucking trying to dominate and control each other and force each other into boxes and pens, and, you know, it's just not going to work.
Yeah, it goes to our entire environment, doesn't it? Everything, you know, just trying to have that control, not this fear of yeah, I suppose that was actually comes around to the question I wanted to ask you actually, you know, the word surrender. You know, do we just, you know, how much should we just surrender to that, just the way things are? Or maybe, there are going to be people that are going to be in that group, whether it's, you know, whether it's a football hooligan who wants to follow his particular team. You know, they've got the same kind of mindset as the Glober who wants to fight. You know, it's all the same thing. So do we just surrender to that? And okay, you have your thing.
Right. Well, I wouldn't say so much surrender. I think accept that it's there, and then accept that I'm different from that, and that they have the same choices as me, and they have their essence, and remove my attention from ever trying to resolve that or fix it or change it, because that's an impossibility and a total absurdity as far as I'm concerned. The only thing I have access to is my own being and my own potential, so that's where my focus has to be. And for me, it's just an acceptance that this is the reality that I'm in, and this is the way it is. And then I have to navigate my way through that, knowing who I am, and you know, maintain myself through that walk. I don't know if that makes sense, but for me, it's as simple as that. It's the only thing I can do, you know.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, sure. You again want people to be of mindset, so that they can be grounded and not go crazy with trying to fulfill a plastic, false, fake lifestyle.
Exactly. And if I want to bring about change, that brings in the aspect of, you know, like an activism. Where if I identify, you know, something that I see as a falsity or detrimental, or, you know, I see people under a hypnotic trance or under the influence of a falsity or a lie, then for me it's like, well, the only thing I can then do is use a certain approach to try and influence or affect in an indirect manner where I'm not imposing on them. I'm only offering up my experience and my questioning, and then see how they react to that, and then maybe that will bring about some sort of change or realization, or, you know, adapt or advance that person that I'm interacting with. But I never set out with my attitude that I'm going to change and I'm going to affect and I'm going to, you know, convert and save and all these driving factors that just send you into the realms of la la land and total absurdity, because it's not my responsibility. Do you know what I mean?
yeah, totally, sure. Yeah, there's the passion to, you know, get them to see that and then make their own decisions. Yeah,
exactly. That's it.
I hope it's been well over 5 minutes, man. I'm sure. So don't let me hog the
no worries, mate. No worries. If that's you, mate, that's you. The 5 minute thing was in regards to me sending the link. I'm just giving people 5 minutes to utilise the link and come in. If they don't, I'm just going to move on to the next person. So no, I mean, it's, if you're going to express, you're going to express, Nick, and I appreciate it, mate. You know. So.
Okay. Yeah. Cool. Right. It was mentioned earlier. We do that. There's a lot of energy spent trying to defend this this attempt to just be free from the general mindset and have alternative answers.
But we are free for that, mate. It's just that we attach importance onto people who want to go against it or bring a battle to us. You know, I don't need to give them any attention. And again, I have done before for a particular reason. But now it's, you know, for me, I'm beyond that. I'm not interested in engaging with any of that type of mindset anymore. It had its use, it had its purpose, and I've garnered what I wanted from it and utilised it, and that's it, you know. So when we perceive a battle or think we have to respond and answer to these people, that's, again, it lies at the hands of us. That's your responsibility. I must be placing importance or relevance that I think these people are worthy or somehow they deserve a response from me when I don't see it like that. You know, I'm just a man expressing my expression and asking the questions I ask, and that's pretty much it. And if people want to come and engage and offer me up or, you know, try and convince me of something, then that's a projection of their psychological state, you know. So as I keep saying, I'm not here to be accepted or, you know, appease or answer to anybody. If I start going into the avenues, I'm going to pull myself from pillar to post and destroy myself, because it's an impossibility to satisfy everybody. You know, it's a never-ending fucking task, mate. You know.
Impossible, absolutely impossible. Yeah.
So fuck them. We walk our walk, they walk their walk, and that's it. Just get fucking on with it, you know.
Yeah, and sure, on the big scheme of things, you know, certain people do things and they have repercussions. You know, energy is put out there, whether it's positive, negative, and there's a, you know, there is that physical knock-on effect. So, sure, I mean, and again, we can go around in circles debating on whether things happen for a reason or whether they were destined to happen or whether we had a choice. But that is really the flow of everything that's going on here, isn't it? You know, I think we can change or take things in whatever direction they there's a million multiple uncountable options.
As I say, it's another aspect of what I'm going to be talking about in my next, you know, this aspect of determinism and free will, you know, and having a look at the possibilities and what's actually going on with our will and our intent or what we perceive it to be, you know. So
I suppose often, we're often what often happens is we're herded into this dichotomy, aren't we? It's one or the other. Exactly. There's always, you know, whether it's politics or whatever it might be. It's always we always seem to be given, okay, it's that choice or that choice, rather than it being left open to
or a blending of the two. You know, it's you know, there's all sorts of possibilities. Again, this is the aspect of looking at ourselves and saying, am I creating a bias here? Am I trying to fulfill a bias? Am I cherry picking to suit a bias? You know, you've always got to be analytical of your own being more than anything else, because you're your own worst enemy, Nick. You know that yourself, you know. So
sure, because that's it. However we react will affect what happens to us and around us and everything. It's just it can all change in an instant.
Exactly.
I mean, but you see, I mean, just for, you know, whatever problems certain societies have with, you know, people that don't feel they have an opportunity, that's probably the worst predicament to put people in, isn't it? You know, you have this system of control, but you have to be really on the ball, as it were, to be part of that system. It's not that's not easy either. A lot of people can end up feeling that, you know, they're not given opportunities. That, well, again, we could say it's up to each individual to seek out. If you're in an environment where opportunities don't seem to be given to you, or life's shit and shit things are happening.
Exactly. So, you know, an aspect of that is a few weeks ago, I was talking about homeschooling, and you know, again, I was talking about the UK and how we have that kind of option here, and I'd missed that. You know, people had misunderstood that that's what I was referencing. You know, when obviously there's other aspects and areas of the world where they don't have that option. You know, so you're tied, you're bound by these regulations and rules, and for me, that's absolutely horrific. Where, you know, your whole being that may be questioning that and has a desire and a will to be free of that is tied up by punishment and threat. You know, that if you don't conform to this set narrative, you're going to be punished and placed in a wee box and taken away from your loved ones and all that stuff. I mean, that's a whole other fucking level. You know, and again, we know that because different areas of this plane, this pond, have different regulations and rules. So we're all at varying aspects, and you know, it's different. Somebody here in the UK talking about certain aspects, and somebody somewhere else in the world doesn't have that option. They're tied up by some other governing rule that they don't have the fucking choice, you know. So we always have to be aware of that as well. And obviously, I've got compassion and empathy for these people. It's, you know, a predicament to be in, you know.
Sure.
But it all evens up because jammy bastards like you are sitting there in nice temperature and fucking sunshine, and I'm sitting here under a big fucking grey blanket, fucking soaking wet and cold all the time, you know. So there's a kind of equilibrium balancing thing going on there, mate. You know, I can take my kids out of school if I want, but I'll get shitty weather. You can't take your kids out of school, but you get fucking glorious weather, so.
But as I said before, man, there's a lot of shit that goes with it. Just, you know, just keeping the head above water. Always a foreigner in a foreign land. Sometimes I'd love to go back to the UK, and just because I get this idea that it would be, you know, you just back home where you know how it all works. But I know it wouldn't be it wouldn't be like it was before.
Yeah.
That's for sure. Yeah.
No.
So.
No, you sit there with your nice supple bones and oiled joints. Don't come out here where you're going to seize up and be fucking ill all the time, mate. Fuck that.
Go on, okay. Thanks. It's good. You put me off for a while. Yeah.
It's alright, come for a visit, realise that it's fucking shit, and then go back to the nice climate again.
Yeah, no, it's very, very hot right now. Yeah, you know, and this is it. When people talk about, you know, the tilt of the earth and stuff like that, it's like you just come and stand under the sun for 20 minutes here, man. It's like that's just so much bullshit. Man, you know, I should let. Shit, it's 4 o'clock in the morning for me. It's been a really good to catch up with you, and I haven't been looking at the chat, but just hi everyone, and yeah, I think this is great. Keep on plodding away, man.
Yeah, nice one, Nick. Appreciate it, mate. It was a good chat as always, bud. Cheers for coming on.
All right, well, I'll see you for now, and we'll catch up soon, man.
Nice one.
Okay.
Cheers, buddy.
Thanks a lot. Cheers, man. Yeah.
Take care, mate. Right, let me see. Who's next on that list? So we've got Patrick Plymouth. Oh, right, that's the second part. An email. Where's the first part? I have one question. Why do you have, and what is mean for you, Masonic tattoos in your arm? Back to this again. You're the one that's labelling them as Masonic or Satanic or whatever you want to label them as. They're just tattoos. They're an expression of art in regards to my walk and the symbols I encountered and my relations to them and what I interpreted them to mean. So I incorporated them into an artistic expression of tattoos. The right side is predominantly do with contemplation, manipulation and control, right? So I utilised the symbols and the expressions of that and all the aspects that come with it. And that's what I incorporated it into. So again, people focus on these, but things that people don't understand is that part of my walk also and my experience was, you know, I've got tattoos in my back of my dogs and other things. I've actually got a saying tattooed across my back, just to give you an example of my honesty and you know what I mean by adopting things at a previous state of mind. And I've got a phrase tattooed on my back that reads, "Infinite love is the only truth, everything else is illusion." Right, that came from a guy called BTIC, which at the time, you know, meant something to me and I related to it and I jumped in and got it tattooed on my back. So I don't know how that fits into the Masonic, Satanic aspects that you're interpreting from my tattoos. Again, don't just cherry pick what you want and start running your fucking gums in your mind running away with you. Slow it down and be a wee bit more rational, right? But I need to ask a question. Why do you have and what is meaning of Masonic tattoos in your right arm? Do not block me. I am curious. I'm going to block you for that. Well, I've answered it. So, who's next? Ali B. Ali B, I've sent you the link. Let me just go back here. Fiona, I never got a response from you, so I'm just going to take it that you never... Well, we were never looking for the link, but you're always welcome if it ever suits you and you want to come on. Alan, sorry, I've just seen that you've sent another message through there. I'm going to give the time to Ali B here. See what Ali's got to say and then we'll take it from there. Hi Arthur, Masonic pictures of Doug's. You want me to show you so that people don't think I'm telling lies? There you go. There you go. I'm sure you can all see that. There it's there. For you to read and see. Alright? Satisfied? Satisfied. There he's are. Big Masonic Satanist guy with the evil tattoos, but he's got infinite love is the only truth, everything else is illusion tattooed in his back. Fucking morons. If you're running about judging people and what you see on their fucking skin, you're fucking retarded. I have to tell you. Right? Again, you know, I don't feel the need to try and justify myself to somebody's illogical, irrational thinking, questioning, you know, ink on somebody's fucking skin. It's absolutely ridiculous. Again, it's the aspect of why are people focusing on these things. It's about what I'm saying. You know, it's the content of what I'm offering that's important and relevant. That's how you're going to identify manipulation and liars and deceivers, right? You're not going to identify them by going, oh, he's got a tattoo, so therefore I've seen a movie with a bad guy that looks like that, so therefore he must be a bad guy. Cuckoo. Shit, what is going on? There's that. Bill's going to get a globe tattoo. That's it, Bill. You're going to be an Illuminati shill if you get that done. I can no longer talk to you if you dare get a globe tattoo. You can't be part of my cult. Sorry. It's a good point, one man, he's detector. Gav, how you doing, mate? Let's just talk about hair sniffing. What's going on here? No, Bill, I thought you were serious. Can't have jokes with me, I take everything literally. You're munted. Well, I'm going to go and get munted. I've sent the link to Ali B, but he's no responding yet, so I don't know what's going on there. I'll give it another couple of minutes just to see if he appears. David Icke caters for a certain section of the Wanderers, but we learn more from these characters by what they won't talk about over what they will. Well, that's part of it for me. I just seen it eventually as just, you know, contributing to the bewilderment. Fantastical stories, unattainable stories and narratives, and never ever a focus from any of these people of how to empower an individual, how to identify their mental and emotional processes so that they can become more secure and educated within themselves. I was never getting anything useful, but again, I still appreciate these people because certain aspects of what they offered, you know, helped me to look at things in a different manner and progress on to, you know, understanding various different things. So, you know, again, you know, I'm not going to chastise people like David Icke because I don't know the man. I don't know his real incentives, his motives, what he's tied by, any of that stuff. So it's ill of me to start passing judgment on these kind of things. I can only take what the man offers me and utilise whatever he is, whether it's negative, good, bad, indifferent, I don't know. That's up to you to decide. But, you know, jumping on bandwagons of chastising people when they have uses is no very good. You know, again, we've got to realise that you may be further along the road of looking at some of these aspects than somebody else. So David Icke might be very useful to somebody that's in some other place in their mind, you know. Whereas they'll come here and they'll just see me and hear what I've got to say, and they might not be able to relate to that. So again, it's this one glove for all shenanigans. We've got to understand and utilise and take what's useful from each aspect, you know. Anyway. I'll have a look at that next time, Ziggy Stardust, because I'm just about to end. Maybe Paul Etchells, maybe it was a ploy by the obsessives. You know, I'm sure guys like Conspiracy Cats will be there drooling, because he's obviously obsessed. Maybe I'll appear in his next video showing my back, so that him and all his other wee zealot fantasists, obsessives can get off on it. You know, Bill, you're out the cult. You better just cancel that plane ticket, because you're not in my group anymore, sorry. What's that, Kieran? That's next week. Right. I think that's us, people. Ali B, I don't know what's happened to you. Obviously, you're welcome the next time, but I'm just going to shut that. Hang out down. And I'm going to thank everybody who appeared on this evening. It's been a privilege, a pleasure to chat to you. Mods, always appreciated in the chat box there, and people watching, people partaking in the chat box. Take care of yourselves, people. I will see you very, very soon.